Hello everyone! Today we're going to examine the various ways that you may teach about environmental issues in your 6th grade social studies classes. Environmental issues are littered throughout our social studies standards, but you can apply these methods that we're going to discuss today to different regions throughout the year and even to standards not involving environmental issues. So let's go ahead and get started. Gathering information and research are key elements in our social studies lesson. Each region that we study, students will need to determine the causes and effects of each environmental issue listed in our standards, such as acid rain in Canada. So for instance, students may gather the following information. Acid rain is caused by sulfur dioxide emitted from industries. The gases dissolve in rainwater to form acids. Much of Canada's acid rain comes to the United States. Acidic water dissolves the nutrients and minerals from soil, and acid rain causes the release of aluminum into the soil. So I've determined the causes and the effects of acid rain when I'm gathering information. You want to have students do this for a number of environmental issues that are listed in our standards, dependent on what region you are studying. Where do they get this information? There are various ways to gather information. Students may embark upon internet web quests, which I will show you a great resource in just a moment, that provide them with all sorts of information. They may examine printed materials that you provide for them. So if you do not have one-to-one technology, or you want to differentiate your lesson to make it a little easier to find the information that you want the students to be able to gather, maybe you want to print off the materials instead. And you also have document analysis. So the document analysis of primary resources pertaining to these environmental issues is also a great way to have students generate their own knowledge pertaining to these standards. Kids.gov is a great resource for both teachers and students. You see that there's information here about acid rain, conservation. So I just wanted to share this with you so that you might be able to share it with your students. You see there's a section for teens as well as teachers. Document analysis does not just apply to historical standards, like most of us get bogged down into just using it for analysis of historical events. Having a side-by-side photo of the impact of acid rain in Germany, students can use these 5 basic questions, which I like to use when examining primary resource documents, for a number of environmental issues in order to build their own knowledge on the impact of the environmental issue in that region. So let's look at these 5 questions. Number 1, examine the source silently for 1 minute. I like to have this be the first item that they do, just to give them a moment to catch their breath, examine everything that is in the picture, really take in all the details. Next, they're going to list out all the objects, people, and activities that they see. So this is where they get to pick up their pencil or start talking with their group members if they're working with other people. Next, they're going to infer things about the source. So looking at this picture, if they've already studied about acid rain, maybe they're saying maybe acid rain caused this decay in this statue. Or maybe they might think of other reasons that it might have decayed, such as there was a war that took place, something like that. And the reason that they are inferring, based on just making a random guess, is they're basing this on evidence. So they have to include why they think this has occurred when they are inferring about the source. What questions do they have? So maybe where is this located? What caused this decay? All sorts of things like that. And finally, where can you find the answers to these questions? Google is not an answer, it's a search engine. So students are going to have to get really specific with me and base their answer on things that we have studied and the activities that they've done previous to this. So if they've been gathering information about acid rain, it's a big hint for them. They're probably going to want to look up more resources and databases concerning environmental issues to be able to answer this question of, how can I find more information about this topic? Now we're going to look at our second instructional activity. It's always important in my classroom for students to have an opportunity to showcase their knowledge. And a really great way to do this with environmental standards is our 60-second TV spots, where students can explain an environmental issue as if they were a reporter on the scene. I'm going to go through the step-by-step process of how you might be able to do this in your own classroom. What you need. All of your great thrift store finds. So to have students really excited about TV spots, provide them with a choice of thrift store clothing, including hats, jackets, scarves, or if you need to clean out your own closet or maybe your mother's closet and grab some of these items, it will make your 60-second TV spots much more enjoyable for your students and a fun kind of treat for them. Also, you must have a microphone. While some of you may actually have a real microphone, I suggest getting some black construction paper with some Reynolds wrap in the shape of a ball and tape it to the end. Why? Because it's hilarious and will make the activity even more fun for your kiddos. So this is how it works. First off, you want to make sure you limit the activity to 60 seconds in order to make sure students are concise. I have a really big problem with students just getting up there and rambling forever. It gets boring. They are not learning how to summarize and get their point across. So make sure that it's 6 to 60 seconds. Students may interview other students as eyewitnesses to the event. If they're working as a group, maybe they are interviewing their fellow students. This is usually where the interviews get very funny. Or you could have them do this individually. You can have students prepare their report or have the report be an improvisation. So you may give them fair warning of what they're going to be reporting on, or you may just give them a microphone and put a picture behind them and say, okay, go. And based upon whatever knowledge that they have of that environmental issue, they have to talk for 60 seconds. It's a great way to practice speech skills as well as reflect upon what they've learned and showcase their knowledge about environmental issues. Finally, you can use this as a summative assessment. We always like to think of summative assessments as these big exams, but I had all sorts of fun summative assessments, and if they do them in class, that's less work for you to grade later as well. So think about that. Or you could have it be as small and little as just filling a couple extra minutes at the end of a class. Your lesson went really fast that day, we got 10 extra minutes, we want bell-to-bell instruction. Grab the microphone and a crazy hat and tell me about air pollution in the United Kingdom. All right? Another fun thing to remember is that 60-second TV spots are not limited to environmental issues. You could be reporting a scene from a historical event. So say you are studying Australia and you were interviewing an Aboriginal child about their experience of being taken away from their home. You could apply this to any other historical event that you are studying. I would be wary when discussing the Holocaust because it's not really a subject where you want to put on a funny hat and have students, go down that direction with such a serious topic. But using it for historical events makes perfect sense to me. Again, fill in those last 10 minutes of class or use it as a summative assessment. You could use it to discuss current events in the current region that's being taught at that time. So say if you were studying Europe, you could talk about Britex and maybe interview someone who was against the United Kingdom exiting European Union or versus someone who was for it. You could explore economic factors that impact the country. So maybe talk about the value of the pound versus the euro. and interview somebody, an economist or a student economist who can tell you about that. So these 60-second TV spots are not limited to environmental issues. They can apply to every aspect of your social studies classes, and I hope that you have a good experience using them in the future. So that about wraps up this screencast. I want to make sure that you know that all resources and pictures that you see in this presentation are available on Digital Commons or Wiki Commons. And I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have an excellent school year, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.